This is the last 60 Minutes broadcast for the season, a time of year when the ubiquitous American tourist sets out in search of diversion. Well, the biggest tourist season anywhere this summer could just be down in Florida's Orange County, where the $400 million Disney World is enjoying its first year in operation. By all indications, it'll be the most prosperous summer that Orange County has ever known. Hotels are booked solid for months ahead, land prices are soaring there, and more new tourist attractions are on the way. 60 Minutes went down to Orange County to take a look behind all this instant prosperity.
A few years ago, if a fed-up city dweller were looking for a place to get away from the rat race, he might have taken a wistful look at Orange County, Florida. He could sail slowly through the unspoiled wilderness of its inland waters and not have to see a soul all day. It was the kind of place the Chamber of Commerce used to tout as a perfect retirement community. Ranch country, orange groves, cheap living, ideal weather. And best of all, it hadn't really caught on the way the beach resorts and retirement towns had. But then in the early 60s, a fellow named Walt Disney began to buy up land in this part of Central Florida. It was going to be the biggest Disney enterprise of all, dwarfing the famous Disneyland out in California. 27,000 acres of Florida scrub pine to be transformed into the world's largest resort complex. It would put Orange County, Florida on the map, and so it has. Last October, Mickey Mouse finally arrived in Orange County, and he's been a smash ever since. Mickey's smiling because he's been looking in the direction of the Disney World turnstiles. 30,000 paying customers a day have been coming through them. Predictions for the first year of operation? Over 10 million visitors. And Disney World is much more than just an amusement park. It's a whole resort complex with beaches, hotels, golf courses, restaurants. In fact, thanks to special laws passed by the Florida State Legislature, Disney World has managed to set itself apart from the local counties with its own sewerage and garbage disposal systems, its own security patrol, fire department, and transportation system. On the Disney property, which is twice the size of Manhattan Island, are two separate cities, wholly owned by the Disney Corporation, with the same powers of eminent domain and taxation as any other city in the United States. And it all works. It's the dream that many Americans yearn for. But outside the gates of Disney World, the fantasy becomes jarring reality. First of all, the biggest traffic jams in the county's history. For the local citizen, travel time to work has doubled or even tripled. And the folks who run Disney World still wince when you remind them of the line of cars that stretched for 30 miles outside the entrance to the park one day last autumn. Then there are the land speculators. Some real estate near the Disney entrance that went begging 10 years ago has been sold recently for over $200,000 an acre. And the average homeowner who is not in the real estate business is paying out much more in property taxes. Property has been reassessed at market value, so the local citizens are being taxed at current inflated prices. The county commissioner of Orange County, Paul Pickett.
I have to speak for what we call Mrs. Smith, meaning that hypothetical taxpayer who's been here for 15 or 20 years minding her own business in a little house she owns, going to work every morning and just paying a lot of taxes. If she has any benefits from it, we haven't realized it yet, unless you can call higher taxes and a whole lot of Yankee relatives she never knew existed as being a benefit.
Carl Langford, the mayor of Orlando, Orange County's biggest city, says that Disney World has made past prosperity look pallid by comparison.
I will tell you that chambers of commerce in Florida for 50 years have had paid executives who've gone out and have said, you know, to people up north, come on down. Well, I'm telling you, they all got here at one time. So we don't need to send paid executives out to tell people to come on down. They're here in droves, and they bring money, and they bring happiness, and they bring jobs, and they bring opportunities for people.
The building boom triggered by the opening of Disney World is unprecedented in this part of Florida. Hotels plan to build 5,000 more rooms in the next year, and even that won't be enough to take care of the crowds. Some Disney World visitors have been forced to stay at hotels over 60 miles away. And now the land boom, the building boom, threaten the famed orange groves of Central Florida. One observer says he's afraid that in 10 years, the only orange tree in Orange County will be in a museum. And as the groves disappear beneath concrete for motels and housing developments, Central Florida faces a problem with its water supply. For 9/10 of the water in Orange County comes from the ground beneath the groves, which absorbs the rainwater. And rainwater cannot filter through concrete. County Agricultural Agent Henry Swanson.
Here's an example here. Here's our state flower, the orange blossom. And there's a good many people who would like to change the orange blossom, which is the state flower, to the concrete clover leaf, which is a sign of prosperity. In other words, urban development is replacing the orange blossom. We've seen this happen in California, and it's beginning to happen here in Orange County, Florida.
You're an agricultural agent. What is Disney World doing to the agriculture of Orange County?
Well, mainly it's increasing the real estate values here. And as a result, a good many people are selling out their groves for urban development.
Did they give you trouble because you drag your feet on this whole business?
No, I've been campaigning since 1959, telling them that the people are coming. And that's why they call me Greenbelt Swanson, because I've been hollering about protecting green belts here in Central Florida, because green belts produce water as well as oxygen supplies. And if we start replacing it with houses, somewhere down the road, we're going to have problems like California.
I'm sure you're not against people, Mr. Swanson, but people are the problem because they want to come here to Orange County. It's a nice place to live.
For years, Orlando was known as the City Beautiful. It's changed its title to the Action Center. So if you want a piece of the action, this is where to come.
The head of Orlando's Salvation Army is Major Sidney Lynch.
Well, we've had a 306% increase in the Salvation Army social welfare programs here in Orange County. We don't know what the future will hold, but we're averaging 140, 150, 160 people per day.
Has the Disney dollar reached you?
The answer is no. I understand that their policy is that they do not make contributions to local charities such as ourselves. They do give a token contribution to the United Appeal of Orange County and in Anaheim, and I'm sure this may change as they get into their profit situation a little bit better.
Major Lynch, is Disney World a good citizen in this community?
At this point in time, no. So far as the charitable agencies are concerned, because they have not involved themselves at this point in time with the needs of the people who are in need.
On a balcony overlooking Main Street, USA, we told Disney World's Dick Nunes that Major Lynch feels that Disney isn't pulling its share of the load.
Well, of course, I think Major Lynch fails to realize, though, that if you'll take a look at the last 4 years and the unemployment rate in Central Florida and compare it to other areas in the country, it's been substantially lower. Also, today, we're providing directly 10,000 jobs, and indirectly, how many other jobs are being provided because of things that have built up. So I think there's a bad side, but I think sometimes there's a tendency to only look at the bad side and not ever mention the good side.
Mr. Nunes, I can't say that I've heard anybody say anything against Disney World itself inside here. But you do have your detractors about what goes on outside.
Well, actually, I think that if you'll read any newspaper in the United States, you'll hear the same thing. California, quite frankly, let's take dope, for instance. It's on the downside. Kids, thank God, are going back to beer. I think on the East Coast, it's on the upswing. That would have happened without us. Crime, quite honestly, in Disney World, we played now almost 5 million people, and our problems here with the family tourists, which are very high caliber people, we've really had very, very few problems.
Yes, well, they don't suggest that its crime is taking place right here on the premises of Disney World, but they say that the incidence of crime, drugs, prostitution, burglary, and so forth, is on the upgrade outside in Orange County.
As the population grows, it's going to be very evident that you have a few more problems. I would like to mention, though, I think part of the thing, but just being very honest about it, is that I think everyone is trying to reach for additional dollars to build up their staff. And the obvious thing to do is to try to point out all the negatives and maybe overemphasize them just a little bit.
The budget for the Orlando Police Department has almost quadrupled in the last 4 years. How much of the increased crime in Orlando and Orange County is a direct result of the Disney boom, and how much a reflection of the general increase in crime in the country is speculative. We asked Orlando's Police Chief Robert Tuning whether it's the tourists or the people who serve the tourists who are giving him the most trouble.
Well, I think it's a combination of both, and even more so, we get people from all over Florida who are now coming to Orlando just for weekends or to the beaches and come through Orlando because they say that's where the action is now. We find reports out of New York City of the subculture saying, let's go to Orlando. Seems like the national spotlight is on us and everybody's coming here.
One would think that clean types would come here to Disney World, people who wouldn't give you any trouble at all.
Well, that's true. There are good people coming to Orlando, but where good people go in large numbers and spend large amounts of cash, you can be sure that the other type's there, too.
This is a nice place to live and make a good living, and occasionally take your family down to Disney World and help those turnstiles down there, which in turn helps Orlando, because the people that work for Disney work either in Orlando, live in Orlando, or around in this area. The business is good, and I repeat once again, there's not a mayor in the country that wouldn't be delighted to have Disney World next to his city, even if it does bring a few problems.